Guys, it's Mike, your host of Craft Beer Storm, also founder brewer at the Beara Brewing Company in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I told you we're kind of a worldwide podcast, and here we go. Today we are going to talk with Matt Jimenez. He is in Goose Island, China. He's in Shanghai, so he's working with Goose Island China there. They have a small brew pub there. But they have the larger facility, but he's in the brew pub, so he's making some interesting stuff and just talking about the Chinese craft beer scene. So there's a lot of good stuff coming your way. So let's get to it. Hey, we're here with Matt Jimenez. He works for Goose Island China. He's in Beijing. How you doing, Matt?
Doing great. Nice to meet you, Mike.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad you could get on the podcast. I know the time difference is like 13 hours, so you're ending your day, but I'm just starting my day. Like you said, yeah, I'm going to grab a beer. I'm like, well, I still have my coffee, so depends on the time of day. But that's awesome. I'm glad we connected. So now we are truly worldwide here. Hey, Craft Beer Storm. I told you we were going to get to China. But hey, so listen. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be craft beer ambassadors to the planet. So I think this will move us that direction. Hey,
awesome.
So listen, we wanted to start. You're a Goose Island, China. I wanted to get your story. I mean, you're an American. Actually, you said you grew up in New Hampshire, and how'd you get to China? How'd you get to? What's your journey? Maybe you can share that with us. It's very interesting.
So I grew up in Nashua, New Hampshire. So I went to college out in Cal State Northridge in Los Angeles, and I met my girlfriend there, who she actually grew up in Shanghai. Her family's from Irvine, California, and they brought me out here. And I was originally going to go take a job out in Germany after college, but she kind of told me that there's lots of opportunities in Asia and that I should take a look. And I came out here and applied for a couple of jobs. Originally, I was a third grade teacher before brewing. And that's how I got brought out here. It's because of a girl. So
now that's usually what the case is, I guess, with everybody, me and everybody else, I guess. It's usually why you're there. It's because of a woman. It's a lot of people that I talk, but that's awesome. That's great. That's fantastic. But listen, so your education, I guess you said you were a teacher?
Yeah, so I was a third grade teacher, teaching social studies and English at a private school in Shanghai.
Okay. And then did you get into like home brewing, or how did that beer bug get you?
So home brewing just kind of came with me. I mean, I was drinking Qingdao and hard-bean beer and, the typical lager style of beers. There wasn't really many options at the time when I first arrived. And I met a guy named Teddy Gowan, who is the head brewer now at Society in San Diego. He started out at Dr. Beer here in Shanghai. And when I met him, I saw what he was doing, and was trying his beers. I was trying, his IPAs, his pale ales, everything that he was brewing, and I was like, wow, this is a pretty cool job. Like, how'd you get into it? And he told me that he applied for the job, and his wife didn't think that he would get a job brewing. And next thing you know, he's like, yeah, I'm in China and I'm brewing beer. And I kind of fell into similar footsteps with him, and he introduced me to a guy named Mike Charetz, who does home brewing here in Shanghai. He owns his own homebrew store. I just kept going to his house, asking him questions, brewing with him, and then I would go on brew days with Teddy at Dr. Beer. I did about 2 or 3 brews with him. And I fell in love with it, and I was like, man, I got to make this. How do I turn this hobby of mine that I enjoy into a career? And it kind of just blew up from there.
That's awesome. So then you went from, so you started the home brewing, and then you got the bug, and then what happened from there? You got, did you get I guess you got a job somewhere at a brewery there?
So it was interesting on how I got the job because, I was was home brewing, and Teddy Gowan was still brewing at Dr. Beer, and while I was teaching, I was home brewing, but he ended up leaving Dr. Beer. But before he left, he gave me a call, and he was like, "Hey man, like I got this opening. The brewery needs a little help, and I know that you're really enjoying home brewing, and do you want to see if you enjoy it on a commercial level?" And I was like, that's awesome. I'd love to do it. So he opened up the door for me for like a 3 to 4 month little internship during the summer while I had time off, because that's what teachers have for summer. So I ended up spending my summer in Shanghai and brewing beer on a commercial level in a brew pub for 3-4 months, and I absolutely loved it, and it was great. It was an awesome experience, and so I knew another guy who's my mentor. His name is Michael Jordan, not the basketball player.
Huh.
But he was the brewmaster at Boxing Cat Brewery in Shanghai, and we were friends before, but he shot me a message on WeChat because I just threw it out there. I told my girlfriend, I'm like, I really want to go brew. Like, I think this is my calling, and I really enjoy it. I'm passionate for it, and she's a strong believer on do your work on what you're passionate about, and so I threw a resume on Pro Brewer, and I got a message from Michael, the brewmaster from Boxing Cat, and he was just like, "Hey, we're expanding. We're looking for another person. I've watched you groom from a home brewer to interning at Dr. Beer. Would you be interested in coming on and turning into a career?" And it all just started from there, and I was just like, "Heck yeah, let's do it. Let's start brewing." And the past 4.5 years I've been with Boxing Cat and brewing beer.
That's cool. Wow. It's a passion of yours now, and that's usually the bug gets you, and then you just want to move in that direction, But so now, are you with? You're not with the other brewery. You're with Goose Island now, right?
Yeah. So I'm with Goose Island now. So there's a story behind that as well. So Boxing Cat Brewery was the first microbrewery in China to be purchased by Anheuser-Busch or AB InBev.
Okay.
So, and Goose Island already had a presence in Shanghai. They have a brew pub here in Shanghai, also in Seoul, Korea. And so we were purchased by ABI, and it was a unique experience. And I just got transferred from within over to Goose Island because we were opening up a brew pub down in southern China.
Okay, so now you're in Shanghai, though.
Yeah.
And so what kind of beers are you making there?
Oh man, you name it. I mean, we're doing IPAs, double IPAs, kettle sours. We're doing barrel aging. You got your New England IPAs, Belgian triples.
This is all at Goose Island.
Goose Island, Boxing Cat. Yeah, we're doing a large variety of different styles of beers.
Do you go back and forth? Do you go back and forth between the two, or?
Now I used to before, but now I'm permanently Goose Island.
Goose Island, okay, because they have the Goose Island IPA. And I always get, like, if there's nothing else on tap, I grab the Goose Island IPA because it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's cracking. I really enjoy it, especially when it's fresh.
Yeah, but so that's cool. Like, and how's the beer scene in China? I know here it's growing. And some people say it's saturation. Some people say we got more to grow. Like I don't know if you know Jack's Abbey. Jack's Abbey's in Mass. And I interviewed Jack, actually, and the episode's coming out today when we're recording this. But he was like, "Yeah, it's probably a bubble. It's going to burst. Saturation." And he was saying this like 7 years ago, and he's like, he's like, "I was wrong." It's still going. It's still moving forward, and there's more and more breweries opening. I mean, how's the craft beer scene in China today?
Yeah, so I used to before, but now I'm permanently Goose Island.
Goose Island, okay. Because they have the Goose Island IPA. And I mean, how's the craft beer scene in China today?
China's craft beer scene is, in my opinion, it's developing. It's developing quickly, and especially with like the beer trends on what's going on in the U.S., they definitely follow over to China very quickly. I feel like the craft beer market has just blossomed over here in China. I mean, more and more consumers are turning to enjoy craft beer that's locally made and trying imports that are coming in that's craft from internationally. People want to try different things, different styles, different flavors that pop in for their palate. It's a transition from the typical lagers that they're used to, and it's just incredible to be in China during this period of time.
Yeah, I mean, is there any? I guess IPAs, are they popular there too, or is there any other styles that they're gravitating towards?
So I would say, like, our biggest sellers are IPAs and wheat beers.
Okay.
But surprisingly, I've actually been noticing a lot of Goses and Berliner Weisses in the market, and
oh, really?
In sour beers, and that just shocks me. Where I'm just like, wow, that trend has definitely came over to China, and people are interested in this, and they want to know like how this beer was made and the flavor profile. How do you get this type of sourness or this type of fruit flavor? It's incredible, the craft beer market here, and how like I mentioned, it's just and it's only it's less than 1% of the market here.
Oh, craft beer.
Yeah, it's less than 1%.
So there's probably a lot of
so
room
much
for
potential.
growth. I mean, here it's like 10% or more. I think maybe 11% now. But there's probably a lot of room for growth in China. But that's what happens when people, when they're used to these lagers and, Ching Sao, and, then they experiment with these IPAs like, oh my God, this is awesome. And then and then the sours are just a totally different taste, because it's the yeast, and they're like, wow, this is interesting. So I think what's happening there is probably what happened in the U.S. here, maybe, I don't know, like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, where people were nuts about sours. Like they were nuts about sour. Like everybody had to do a sour. Now it's kind of died down. The IPA craze is still out there. Everybody loves IPAs. But I think that's these people, transitioning from these lagers into craft beer and IPAs. And then, well, now it's getting colder here. In the Northeast, it was like snowing the other day. We're recording this right before Thanksgiving, and we had a good amount of snow. But now they're gravitating towards the darker beers, because everybody, it's cold, got to get a darker beer.
Oh yeah, your porters and stouts.
Porters and stouts, yeah. So I got to make more of that. But it's interesting to see the progression. And I think local ingredients, like we use a lot of local ingredients here. We try to stay local, on our whole, our whole premise on the podcast and in my brewery, the Beara Brewing Company, is to use local ingredients in our beer to the extent that we can. We use Irish barley as the base, but we also use like local honey. We use local maple syrup, local coffee. We even use a local buffalo wing sauce. We infuse it in some of our beer, which comes out pretty good. So how is it over there in terms of using local ingredients, people going to their local breweries? How's that doing in China?
I think it's doing extremely well. I believe that a lot of people, most of our malts and hops, they're all imported in. But when it comes to infusing beers with fruit, or honey, people are using local ingredients. Like for Boxing Cat, we had a beer that was called Triple Threat. It was a Belgian triple. It was a big, heavy hitter. It was around, if I remember correctly, 7.5%.
Right.
But we would add Sichuan peppercorns, and
that's cool.
It gave you, so in Chinese food, they use these peppercorns to it gives you like a numbness on your mouth.
Really?
Where you feel like you just got a dentist, and you have numb and you can't feel your lips. It gives you that feel. It gives you that feeling and that tingling, and using something like that into a beer from Chinese ingredients because they love spice. It's pretty unique, I would say. And
That's cool.
A lot of brewers here in China, they're moving towards that a lot more, especially on like using them for gosés and sours. And also they're starting to use them in different other styles as well, especially saisons. But yeah, as for using local ingredients in China, they use local fruits that are here, like jackfruit, like I mentioned, Sichuan peppercorns. They use local coriander and other ingredients that are offered here in China as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, it's just transitioning from here we use the honey and stuff like that. But I guess they have honey and things of that nature. I don't know about maple trees, but
maple, not yet.
No. Not
yet. I've noticed it when I was up north in China that they had some maple trees, and I was kind of like, oh man, this would be cool. And it's surprisingly they don't use maple. I believe they think of that as an import from Canada.
Yeah, import from Canada. But how's the weather there in Beijing? Is it pretty temperate, or does it fluctuate? Or
so I'm actually in Shanghai.
Oh, I'm sorry, Shanghai. Sorry.
And it's actually quite nice right now. It's fall. I would say about 55 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Quite nice, cool, crisp. Sometimes we'll get a heat wave. But during the summertime, it's extremely hot.
It gets really hot?
Yeah, it gets really hot. I would say the hottest I've ever seen it here was, I remember, it was like 102.
Wow.
I think it was.
All right.
Fahrenheit.
It's all right. It's not too bad. Not too bad. It's pretty temperate. But what are there any laws, I think, locally that impact your breweries there? Is there things that you can do, like in terms of self-distribution, or do you have to use a distributor? Is there a distribution network there, and how does that work?
So in China, there are distribution channels. There are distribution companies that people will use to bring their products into China. As a microbrewer, as a microbrewery in China, it's relatively difficult to self-distribute because you have to. So in China, they have certain requirements for food safety, and the FDA requires, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but I believe it's like 30,000 cans or bottles an hour is what your packaging line had to be. Don't quote me on that, but I remember it was something absolutely ridiculous.
Wow.
And that's what gets you that qualified QS is what they call it here. And, China's been used to having QS in food safety for big breweries. They've never experienced having to deal with it with small craft breweries or microbreweries that are here in China. So it gets a little difficult for them to package and sell. So, for example, if you're a brew pub, you can package, but you can't sell it outside of your brew pub. You can sell it only inside your brew pub.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And
can't take anything to go.
Nope. You can buy it and take it to go, but it can't be sold outside of any other places that sells beer.
Oh, okay.
So if I brew beer at my brew pub and I take it to my friend's pub and I give him a keg and I say, hey, we're doing a tap takeover, or, it's technically you're not supposed to do it. I mean, people do it here, but if caught, it's
you don't want to be caught. No.
Yeah. So the laws here are pretty strict, and
wow.
Like I said, like the government understands the big breweries, like I mentioned, like Qingdao or Harbin, like they understand those, or Snow Beer. They understand their markets and food safety. So for their quality control, they're focused on the large mass. They're not even focused on the smaller players. It's a total new game for them.
Uh-huh. Wow. And now, how's it regulated? Is it a countrywide law, or do you have states there, or how does it work? Because I know in the U.S. it's like they leave it up to the states to make these laws. Sometimes they're really antiquated and just they don't make any sense. So, but I guess that's the way it is right now. But is it a national kind of law thing, or how does it work?
Yeah, it's all national. They have provinces here, but some provinces can be lenient than others. But at the end of the day, it's national law, and if you don't have QS and you're distributing, that breaks the law of food safety. Food safety is one of the biggest concerns, I think, in China for its consumers. So they take it very serious.
Oh yeah, they'll like execute people. Like I've seen that stuff. Like I've seen it on the news. Maybe I'm extreme, but I've seen it before. Like a guy would, like his company, I don't know what happened. I don't know, there's some type of fraud that somebody else did, but they went to the CEO of the company and they executed him. It's like stuff like that. Yeah, it's like heavy duty. I'm like, whoa, So they make examples of people, which is, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too extreme, but that's what I saw. I mean, that's what I saw. So I don't know.
I could tell you for the past 7.5 years of being here, I have not seen that yet. I mean, I'm sure there's stories out there, but I haven't witnessed it.
I don't know.
Surprise me, but
I got to dig it up and send it to you. But it was like out of control. But yeah. How about the I interviewed somebody who was brewing in Vietnam, but she's back in the States and she's helping somebody out in Memphis, Tennessee. But she was talking about the water quality in Vietnam and how they had to filter it again, and or import water. How's it over there? How's the water quality there?
So we have to filter our water. We test our water with our pH and make sure that there's nothing going wrong in it. Make sure our pH levels are good. So we get a water analysis, and we carbon filter our water, and it takes out the majority of what we don't want in it, and does pretty well. I would say the water quality here is okay. Personally, I wouldn't drink out of a tap. I buy all my water bottled, so I don't. Yeah, but for in the brewery, we use tap water, and it goes through a carbon filter and filtration and RO, and then we do a water analysis, and everything's good to go. We start brewing.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they have reservoirs there, or they get it from the ground, or?
If I remember correctly, I think Shanghai is all groundwater.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
And
there's some parts of China, like there's guys brewing down in Dali. I mean, they get their water and it's fresh and it's right from the river.
Wow.
It just depends on where you're at and where you're located.
And then in Beijing, I keep saying we see pictures of Beijing and there's like a smog over the city. Is that the same? Is that the same thing for Shanghai, or is it a little better? Like kind of industrial?
To be honest,
yeah.
I mean, in Beijing, it can get pretty bad. In Shanghai, it's not that bad. I think, again, I've been here for about 7.5 years. I think there's been like 2 or 3 days out of the 7.5 years I've been here where I couldn't see the bottom of the ground because it was just polluted. Other than that, it's pretty average. Well, I guess for me, I've come accustomed to it, where like average is like 50 to 100, like on the AQI, or 150 AQI. And I'm like, yeah, it's a good day. Obviously in US, you wouldn't have a day that's 150 AQI outside. So, yeah, I don't think the pollution is as bad as what people think it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just an American. I see pictures and stuff and read stories about people getting executed and smogs over cities. So that's what it is. This is what we see, this is what we see here. And we're like, all right, I guess everything's is smoggy and, but obviously it's not that way all over. But so I guess the craft beer is taken off there. It seems like there's some room for growth. Do you actually you had to learn how to speak Chinese, I guess, and write
So I speak Chinese. I do not know how to write.
Okay.
And I can read a couple characters, but my speaking is a lot better than my writing and reading. My writing and reading.
But did they learn English in school there? I'm not sure. I know in Europe that everybody learns English as like a second language.
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of people here that speak English. Shanghai is pretty dominant in English. They learn it at a young age. Majority of the people here in Shanghai speak pretty decent English. My girlfriend's parents have been here for I want to say like 18 to 20 years. Their Chinese is so-so, but they've gotten by with English in Shanghai for the past like 20 years. It's a pretty international city, to be honest.
That's cool. I haven't been there. I gotta go. I haven't been out east, and one day I will be there. But
well, if you do, hit me up. I'd love to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're connected now. Yeah.
Take you to Taco Bell.
Taco Bell. Oh man, I have enough of them here, boy. But
oh man, they're just starting over here.
Oh, are they? But they have McDonald's there a lot, right?
Oh yeah, McDonald's and KFC is on like every corner. Same with Starbucks.
Oh, Starbucks too. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. And then challenges of the craft beer business there. I mean, you've talked to probably a lot of brewers. I mean, what kind of challenges are they facing?
I would say, just in general, if you're an expat and you're in China and you're brewing beer, it's a challenge. Challenge on sourcing raw materials, costs. If you're a business owner, it's even more challenging. Because you got to deal with government, and then you got to make sure you're not getting swindled or taken for.
Yeah.
And you got to understand the culture.
Right.
I would say culture would be the most difficult thing, in my opinion. Rather than, because anyone can come here and brew beer, but I think it's just getting used to that Chinese culture is a big shock, especially on like work ethics and things like that.
Do you find the work ethic is very extreme there? Or?
Yeah, the Chinese people work really hard. They have pride in what they're doing in their jobs, and it's just sometimes you got to be careful with what you say, or you got to be sensitive to their culture. Like for example, I can't, like, if someone messes up, I can't just go and yell at them. They have this thing called losing face. So you gotta learn to go around it another way, or if you want something done, you gotta figure out. You can't be as direct like in the U.S. or in Europe. You kind of just have to go around the bush a little, give them a couple hints, and be able to give them that encouragement, make it seem like it's their idea, or make them feel valued.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a different culture, I think, for working. I think it'd be the same for Chinese if they came to the U.S. and worked. Culturally, we run things different, just like they do.
You do. You have to understand the culture there, otherwise you're done. Yeah.
So, 100% agree.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Yeah. And when was the last time you were back in the States here?
I was actually just back a couple weeks ago. I was in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Doing some training with Goose.
Okay.
But before that, I want to say 2016 CBC.
Oh, all right, cool.
And then before that, it was like 2 years ago.
All right. Okay. So you're not really removed. I mean, you come back periodically. That's good. But yeah, it's been a great conversation. I appreciate you being on, and if people want to get a hold of you and maybe have some specific questions about China, or how can they get a hold of you?
Well, they can email me at my first name Matthew, and then my middle initial S, and then last name Jimenez at gmail.com. If they have anyone who has questions about China and brewing here in China, or potentially wanting to try and get into the market in China and understand it a little more, I'm open to answering questions.
Yeah, that's great. No, and I appreciate that you came on the show, and I think our listeners got a good idea of what's happening in China and the microbrew environment and the craft beer environment. Seems like it's only 1% there, but I think it is growing. And now that you have AB there, they're probably going to push it forward in terms of doing some different styles and getting people exposed to different things. Gozas is like, wow, yeah, you wouldn't think so, but there you go. People want to try different things, and it's interesting. All right, hey, well, Matt, I appreciate you being on the show, and I want us to stay in touch. And if I'm over there, I will let you know. I will let you know I'm coming by, and if you're in New Hampshire, let me know as well. I think you're from here originally, so if there's do you have any relatives here still, or?
No, I have some family friends that are I think they're about an hour north of Concord. And then there's some people that I keep in touch with here and there from high school in Nashua, but no family up there anymore. So, but I do plan to one of these days come out and see what's going on. It's been a while since I've been in the Northeast.
Yeah, if you're like you're in Boston or something, let me know. We'll grab a beer, or I'll let you know when I'm out there. But hey, I appreciate you being on, and let's stay in touch.
Sounds good, Mike. Not a problem. Thank you for having me.
All right, man. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
Wow, that was Matt Jimenez of Goose Island China. He's in Shanghai, and we're talking about a lot of different things in the craft beer scene in China, and I think they got a long way to go. Is he saying it's like 0.01% or something of or 0.1% of the craft beer sold in China right now is craft, of the total beer sold in China is craft beer. So there's a lot of room for growth. I think it's huge population. So that's a great opportunity. I got to talk to them a little bit more and see if I can get over there. We're gonna need somebody to sponsor me to go over, and then we could do remote craft beer storm podcast. I think that's a good thing. So if anybody's out there is interested, send me an email, michael@craftbeerstorm.com. Hey, if you like our podcasts, if you like the content we're bringing to you, we're bringing you people from around the world now, right? Or across the planet. Please go on to iTunes and subscribe. Leave us a rating and review. That's the only way we can grow this podcast and get the word out. I'm doing it three days a week for you guys. A lot of other brewery podcasts or beer podcasts are doing 1 day a week, sometimes like one time a year, it's a couple times. But we're doing 3 days a week because we are serious. I want to bring you on Mondays. We bring you a episode like this, which we interview a brewer or somebody in the craft beer industry. And on Wednesdays we do beer styles, which takes a different style of beer. There's not just lagers and pilsners. There's loads of other different styles according to the GABF guidelines, and we go through each one a week. And then on Fridays we get craft brew news, which is we explain the news of the week. We usually have a guest on, and we get their understanding and their take on the whole scene, craft beer scene, and it just expands my knowledge and expands your knowledge as well. So tune in. But the only way you get these is if you subscribe. Then you can get alerts and get these things every other day, pretty much, right? So that's what we have today. That's our episode, and I appreciate you being here. And please keep listening, and share this with a friend. Actually, we're 10x, so share it with 10 friends. That'd be awesome. Go on Facebook. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're all over the place. We're social media, and we're going to be all over the planet soon. So join us, okay? And remember that there is an alternative to watered down, mass-produced beer, and that is local, delicious craft beer. So get out to your local brewery as well. Get into your restaurant. If they don't have local craft beer on tap, grab the manager. Say, give us a tap line. We need to get local craft beer on tap. They're slowly changing. It's slowly changing. A lot of these larger chains are understanding that they need some local craft beer on tap because that's what people want. All right, guys. I appreciate you being here, and we'll talk to you soon.